Chapter 16, Albert's Journal of the Universe. 16th entry, Unsupported Validation.
September 2nd, 2045. Continued. Recapitulating our shared dream experiences has focused us towards finding ways to create new, healthier cycles for source creation to experience. Looking at our dreams has shown us that there are countless perspectives with even more possibilities. The Draconian Count showed us the follies of living for a corporate state. The legends of Count Dracula were a way for the state to show how they operate without admitting anything. We are not sure of the intentions of the creators of Dracula. The mode of operation is the same as the state. Both are fictions, both need your consent to enter your house, usually done through trickery. Both have no true reflections. Both drain your lifeblood, leaving only what you need to live for them. Both operate in shadows or through proxy. Both expand their domain by creating more vampires, and the similarities seem endless. Studied scholars have just started asking the right questions, such as, what is best while we are here, or how can we do better? These questions are looked at from a micro-macro level, along with every level in between, above, or below. The fractal garden universe is easier to vision than see, hear, or touch. The idea that all time exists in each moment is realized with fractal visions. What happens on a micro level happens in the macro, and vice versa. In our sojourns, we have glimpsed the fractal garden from the omniverse. What is beyond the omniverse can be pondered by observing the microverse. Bill almost got lost in a fractal journey, even if he feels sure he would have found his way by entering the micro black hole. The vastness, complexities, details of a fractal are governed by source creation, shaped by harmonics, bathed in photons of light. The all-too-real shared hologram that we live in is governed by natural laws that will bring about civilization with extended periods of enlightenment, benefiting source. Our agreed quest on this shared dream journey is to find these answers. The knowledge of natural law makes us all servant kings, queens with Source as our benefactor. Source is the original grantor for everything. We must act as trustees, servants to the supreme trust for existence, to be the beneficiary, making life better for all. As kings, queens, we have free will with no one above us. Bringing harm to other kings, queens violates natural law, a breach of the superior trust with source creation. One could debate that what happened next on this shared dream vacation is beyond comprehension. This story journal may cause epic skepticism, although with an open heart mind you will find this easier to follow. The story helps make our answers fun and interesting. When we woke from our dream slumber, we were back in Pangaea with Lazarus and his family. Long-lost friends and family greeted us also, spirits, energy, souls that we had not seen since they departed. So many kindred spirits that it would take pages to name them. Some of them had new lives with new names. They visit in a dream state. They were all aware of our adventures in this shared dream vacation, as if they were with us all along. We met with multiple versions of ourselves having the same experience we are having. This was a meeting of minds like no other. No introductions were needed. We recognized ourselves. We came from alternate time streams, fractal universes, as well as different dimensions. They also knew that our dream journey was coming to a close. We are returning to a world of marvelous potential. Mankind is in a golden age like never before. The continual rise in man's wisdom has brought about the opportunity to co-create on a cosmic, multidimensional plane. What an occasion! The sustainability of this wonderful society is the guiding purpose intent of everyone. The world tour of the Gateway has allowed man to tap inner potential. What would once be considered child fiction is now a part of life. Innate abilities like our group developed with the Gateway activations has blossomed into a world of super beings. Adjusting to these abilities is the challenge that man faces. Working together, mankind will rise even higher, bonding the relationship with Source. The natural state that is created will bring order, resulting in prosperity and abundance. The formula that was used to gain control, preconceived solution plus create problem plus desired reaction equals implemented solution, has been recognized and adjusted for the sovereign. This formula was used on all trust agreements in history. Her story. The formula for the sovereign is potential probabilities plus focused heart mind plus creative genius plus willful action equals solution. This is the formula that we follow in completing our quest. The potential probabilities for our world of advanced man is limitless. It is not our intent to address any or all probabilities. The rest of the formula allows for anything. This intent leads us to the story we witness next. Our extended group all participated in observing this story. Vision billions of spirit souls beings meeting together in the higher dimensions, Imagine that they are all versions of you and you're familiars with the same intent focus. They are you. See, feel the energy of love being generated. Know that they all hold a key part to answers we are asking. Look around this fantasy landscape of dreams. Enjoy the beauty of what your heart-mind creates. Take every cell making up your existence with us to a quiet little village in Southeast Africa, where a child wakes up in a world he is not familiar with. Delos stretched his arms while looking out his window to the world. The scene was familiar with only the rising sun showing colors through the dew formed on the trees and plants, reflecting light. This would quickly evaporate, causing the spectacle to vanish, so Delos loved that moment of splendor. Gifts from Gaia is what he called these moments. Even at the young age of 12, Delos had a focus on natural reality. He was no stranger to technology either. He was an indigo star child with crystal star children characteristics. In other words, he had a knack for learning with technology while having empathy, telepathy, and compassion. These crystal characteristics were developed living with his family. He is the youngest in a family of 12. With 6 brothers, 3 sisters, and his loving parents, they had a full house. After breakfast with his family, Delos went out to play. He was bigger than most children his age. He met with his best friend Anson, who was half his size and stature, with the energy equal to a bouncing super ball. They would meet Charisma at the village trade market, then off to swim in Crystal Lake. The village considered Delos and his friends young adults at 12 years old, well into their age of reasoning. The village is in a valley surrounded by large mountains to the north and west. The mountains to the east are not as large, but they are treacherous to navigate. The southern direction was the only easy way in or out of the valley. The valley is large with many villages beside Delos's village of Willowway. Wealthy in minerals and vegetation, no one in the valley needed help from outside the valley. A well-positioned satellite gave the valley access to the world outside. Being a child in this pocket landscape had many benefits. The wisdom and acquired knowledge passed from generation to generation had little to no contact with corruption. With nothing to corrode the minds of the people, the inhabitants flourished in spiritual growth. Thousands of years have passed since a small group from sunken Atlantis migrated and settled in the valley. The existing inhabitants of the valley at that time welcomed them into their hearts. They brought with them language, script along with knowledge of source creation. It is said that they came in search of a divine flint that sparked creation. While swimming, a storm came over them that would bring buckets of water falling from the sky. Delos, Anson, and Charisma took refuge under a boulder that balanced on a nearby hill. This boulder had been on this hill as long as anyone could recall. The legends tell how the boulder was placed there by star beings millions of years ago. For the children, it was only shelter from the storm. Streams of mud washed by them as the hill was being rapidly eroded by the torrential rain falling around them. The boulder began to shift, as if it would start rolling down the hill. The children were awestruck but in no danger, being on the uphill side of the spherical boulder. The boulder moved about 5 feet, then stopped as if it was moved intentionally. The newly exposed earth had the shape of a granite vortex that was just big enough for the children to enter. A cloud of gas came out of the vortex that could be seen even in the pouring rain. The gas took on the likeness of a man, then rose into the skies. The rain stopped at once. Delos, Anson, and Charisma were so close to the vortex that they all breathed in some of the gas. They ran into the village, telling everyone their story. When they returned with the villagers, the boulder was back in place, as if it had never moved. The villagers all agreed how strange it was that the storm came on so suddenly, then stopped just as quick. Evidence of the rest of the children's story could not support what they said. Mud was washed away with a lot of erosion, exposing the base of the spherical boulder, but known alignments, along with accurate demographics of the valley's topography, showed no substantial change. There were no marks on the earth indicating a shift. Delos, Anson, and Charisma returned home, persuaded that they had conjured up much of the day's occurrences. Delos searched his computer for spherical boulders to discover if similar rocks existed globally. To his astonishment, he found countless reports of spherical rocks worldwide. There were as many stories, legends, and theories as there were discoveries. None of the documented information suggested that the rocks ever moved without external forces. One hypothesis that captured Delos's imagination proposed that the boulders were obstructing gateways to other dimensions. He fell asleep with a whirlwind of possibilities in his mind. In his dreams, he reunited with Anson and Charisma. Together, they journeyed to diverse societies across the world. Splendor intertwined with poverty, the disparity of Gaia's blessings was starkly evident to these protected children with innate empathy. The trio was bewildered by the anguish they absorbed as they connected with humanity's collective consciousness. Delos awoke abruptly, his vivid dream etched in his memory. With darkness still enveloping him, he turned to the internet for confirmation of what he already sensed to be true. The year was 1997. How had civilization grown so disparate? This contrasted sharply with his life in the valley. Here in the valley there is no monetary system or exchanges of currency money. This stood out to Delos as he reviewed his memories of his dream. Money systems existed throughout the world at every level, except for the money creators who trade the value of Gaia, which belongs to everyone, and the sweat equity of people using funny money. In our valley we function as one with all wealth or prosperity shared equally as we recognize the roles we all play in making life better for all. The valley has many aqua grow domes that specialize in herbs, spices, exotic fruits or vegetables. As children we are taught how the balance system works in our society, and we choose how we help in the process. Crimes against each other almost never occurs because we all have what we need to not only survive but thrive. Watching people in his dream who have brought value to the world end up with nothing is a crime in natural law. That was hard for Delos to comprehend because this does not happen in the valley. Fruit trees and vegetable gardens are woven into our landscape, accessible to everyone, nurtured by Gaia's gifts and our devoted care. Preservation and processing are carried out by those passionate about crafting with the bounty of humanity and nature. A planning and organization group exists, yet they rely on the community's vitality to realize their vision, ensuring no hierarchy over those who clean or contribute differently. Trade beyond the valley doesn't involve currency. Instead, the valley exchanges its harvest surplus and locally made goods. In return, they receive valuable items that are communal, not personal assets. Our community stays abreast of technological advancements and actively enriches this domain through advanced education. I guess you would say that everything is free in the valley, although that is not how we look at it. We have learned from nature that we all have to take action to make life better for all. The bees all work together to create the beehive, without a payday of perishable tokens. The bees do not classify themselves as communist or democratic or whatever, yet they all have a hive to live in as they work together to feed each other. As people, we are not stuck with the hive mind. We can reach beyond the hive while still helping the state of the hive. Nothing is free. It is already paid for with past sweat equity that has already been paid. Raw materials were provided by nature, so we owe nature a debt that we pay with our care for nature. We are all taught to give back freely what is given freely. It became clear to Delos how wise his ancestors were when planning the development of the valley. The history her story of the valley tells how the Atlantis people that migrated into the valley brought with them knowledge from the universe, along with a great comprehension of natural law. We are all descended from these migrants here in the valley. We developed virtually unaffected by outside influence. The valley was never invaded by conquering psychopaths, being impossible to move an army into the valley. As a result, no taxes have ever been imposed on any people or a need for money ever existed. The only competition that is encouraged in the valley is with yourself. Always strive to improve, that is what we are encouraged. Winning was a sense of accomplishment, and losing or not getting the desired result from effort was a lesson to do better. They taught about the follies in the outside world in Delos's curriculum, and access to global information is readily accessible to all living in the valley. Experiencing these follies in his dream was intense. Looking with empathy brought clarity. This was his first real experience with emotions he had never felt, such as fear, despair, hunger, anger, jealousy, coveting, and brutality. Later, while sharing his dream with Anson and Charisma, they discovered that they all shared the same dream. Anson paced the rest of the evening and Charisma cried after waking. Now they had more secrets that they could not share with anyone else. Anson bounced around like a jumping bean, and one of his springs left him hanging on to the top branches of a nearby tree. Anson's only response was, "How cool was that?" Charisma was so surprised that she began to look like the gas we breathed in. She floated up to Anson with hardly a thought. With both his friends stuck in a tree, Delos stayed grounded. He wondered if he was still sleeping, and he was grateful that no one saw this happen. Anson and Charisma climbed down the tree the hard way, branch by branch. There was more happening here than the three children could grasp. The excitement continued when they reached ground level. Being children with wild imaginations, they played with ideas of what costumes they could wear and what their names would be as superheroes. Anson wanted to be Kid Kinetic, and Charisma wanted to be called Ether. Delos felt like a third wheel with no abilities showing up. As they played, Delos began to vision source creation with a ringside view. He saw how nature was a being, traveling through endless space as part of an even greater whole called the galaxy. Fractal existence was seen as whole. With a smile that would light a room, Delos said, "And I will be Cosmos the Galactic Shaman. My outfit will look like the stars in the heavens." These children have no idea that we have been observing their story or the relevance their story holds in our quest. We are not sure ourselves yet. Our scene shifts to a seemingly unrelated event that was taking place a few light years from Earth. The starship Expedient from the Orion Belt had deployed an exploration cruiser heading out of our galaxy toward our neighboring Andromeda galaxy. This cruiser would have some difficulty when reaching the Sol solar system, causing the crew to abandon the cruiser and rescue pods. The quantum energizers were breached by a mini-meteor of compressed mass. Upon impact, the mass began to expand. The crew had just enough time to abandon the small cruiser. The nearest planet that would support the Orion crew was Earth. Earth was in a restricted area, quarantined, off limits to all. It has been over 4,000 years since the Orions visited Earth. This exception to the quarantine would strand the crew but save their lives. Earth has two locations that would welcome the stranded crew. One was in the land of the Hopi Indians and the other was the valley in Africa. The valley was chosen for its remote, hard-to-reach location. They would have less chance of being detected. 6 cloaked pods entered Earth's atmosphere heading towards the valley. Once they land, the pods will become home for these wayward visitors. No one should be able to see or detect them, so they will live out the rest of their existence secluded or until the quarantine on Earth is lifted. They would land in the mountains just north of the valley completely undetected, or so they thought. Delos, Anson, and Charisma were still at play in an open field in the northern area of the valley. Delos perked up with excitement as the pods passed over them approaching their landing. He saw the pods pass over and immediately wanted validation from his friends.
Anson, Charisma, look at the ships.
None of Delos' friends witnessed anything, yet this didn't deter Delos from venturing into the mountains towards where he spotted the landing. Anson and Charisma tagged along for the adventure, trusting Delos despite not having seen or heard anything themselves. Upon reaching an elevated lookout, Delos was able to spot the pods as they connected with Mother Earth.
Look at that. Now, do you believe me?
Delos was sure to get their validation now that the pods were in plain sight, pointing at a nearby plateau.
See, there are 6 of them. They look like metallic ladybugs. Wait, one of them is opening. Look, don't you see?
With a show of support, Anson answers.
If they are there, it is a long way to travel. Charisma and I may be able to get there quick, but you would take half a day at best. Apparently your ability is to see what no one else can see. We will all have to go together.
Charisma was filled with doubt as she could see nothing now.
It will be dark before we even reach the bottom of this mountain, and we cannot climb in the dark. Our familiars will be worried if we are not back for dinner. We have so many secrets from them already. They would not believe us if we told them. Our abilities must be kept secret also, even if it would help others believe us.
Delos said in a frustrated voice.
They may not be there tomorrow. We have to go now. I will go alone if I have to. I am not imagining this. What I see is clear to me.
Both Delos' friends remembered how it felt when the village did not believe them. They began to doubt themselves. Charisma said hesitantly,
We better get moving if we are all going. Our familiars will look for us here first, so we should leave them a message. My phone is out of range with no signal. We can record a message, then leave the phone for them to find.
Anson reached in his knapsack.
Here is a flashlight we can leave on, so they find the phone quickly. I will point it to the sky. When it gets dark, it will be easy to spot.
After leaving a message, the children began their descent, leading to their ascent to the plateau. Climbing was second nature to them, growing up almost completely surrounded by mountains. They moved stealthily, helping each other when needed. The terrain was treacherous in places where running streams with slippery rocks made helping each other a necessity. They used all that nature provided to help them. One tree provided a root system that protruded out the side of a steep cliff, allowing the children a faster shortcut to their destination. The sun was setting, and they still had 2 flashlights. When darkness enveloped the sky with a partial moon and billions of stars, it was spectacular to behold. Charisma became luminescent, lighting up the whole area around them. Anson played kiddingly.
That is a pretty handy ability. When you need it now, everyone will know where we are. I can hear it now. Large green luminescent orb was spotted in the mountains just north of Wilogwe. They will be making theories and conjecture about this phenomenon for years.
Charisma giggled.
We could start our own theories, throwing everyone way off base. A gathering of fairies or a divine light from source. A divine light from source is almost true. We are just leaving out the details.
Delos replied, breaking the mood of levity.
It may be best to just keep silent about all of this. Even silence is a lie, although it is better than spoken lies or unbelievable truth. You two only believe me because we are friends and what we are going through together. Only I am sure of what I saw.
Delos continued on intently. His purpose was focused. Charisma and Anson were with him the whole way up to the plateau. There was a thick forest greeting them when they reached their goal. The plateau was larger than it looked from a distance with lush vegetation. It was the middle of the night, but Delos knew they were close. Charisma dimmed her luminescence to a small radius to travel through the woods. After a couple hundred yards, they came to an overlook into a much smaller valley. Delos saw the 6 spaceships had landed in a circle. The area was bustling with activity. Pointing at the small valley, he looked once again for his friend's validation.
Now, I know that you can see that.
This story continues in the next chapter. I hope you liked their story so far. Please subscribe, like, and share. You can also visit quasiversecomicbooks.com for more playful stories and get collectibles at Quasiverse Collectibles. I am sorry, please forgive me. Thank you. I love you.